Humanity's patience ended in fire, and the universe will never forget. HFY. Sci-Fi story in the wide galaxy filled with loud empires, proud warriors, and ancient powers. Humans were the ones who waited. They waited in meetings. They waited during insults. They waited when trade laws were bent against them. Other species talked. Humans listened. Other species threatened. Humans wrote reports. Because of this, the galaxy decided something very simple. Humans were weak. In the Galactic Union Hall, humans sat on the outer rings, far from the center lights. Their seats were small. Their voices were rarely heard. When they spoke calmly. When others shouted over them, they stopped talking. This behavior was studied by scholars and mocked by soldiers. A tall, blue-skinned envoy once laughed and said, "They apologize even when they are harmed." And the others laughed with him. What the galaxy never understood was that humans were not quiet because they were afraid. They were quiet because they were counting. Ilan stood at the edge of the observation deck, looking out into open space. Stars stretched endlessly before him like frozen fire. He had spent 10 years as a human observer in Union space. His job was simple. Watch, record, report. He had learned something important during those years. The galaxy did not listen to warnings. It listened only to power. Behind Ilan, voices echoed softly. Delegates moved between chambers. The sound of metal feet, floating steps, and low hums filled the hall. Ilan turned and walked back toward the inner corridor, his tablet glowing faintly in his hand. He stopped near a large display showing trade routes. Red lines crossed human-controlled systems. Taxes were higher there. Inspections were longer. Delays were common. None of this was new. What was new was the pattern. Ilan zoomed in on the display. In the last 2 cycles, 7 human outposts had reported interference, communication blocks, power failures, cargo seizures. Each incident was small. Each one was dismissed. "Minor conflict," the Union log said. "Local misunderstanding," they wrote.
"Unverified cause," they claimed. Ilan knew better.
He entered a quiet chamber and activated a private channel. A familiar face appeared. Older, calm, tired. Director Hale from Earth. "You see it too," Hale said before Ilan could speak. "Yes," Ilan replied. "It's getting closer." Hale nodded slowly. "We sent formal complaints." They were ignored. Ilan hesitated. "Then we should stop filing complaints." Hale's eyes sharpened slightly. "Careful. I am careful," Ilan said. "That's why I'm worried. Someone is testing us. Small pushes, safe pushes. They think we won't react." Silence hung between them. Hale finally spoke. "Keep watching. If anything major happens, report directly, not through Union channels." The connection closed. Ilan stood still for a long moment. Then he looked back at the stars. Far away, beyond the main routes, was a small human mining colony called HFY Station. It sat on the edge of a dead system. No beauty. No importance. Just people digging rare metals from cold rock. Families lived there. Children played in narrow halls. Workers shared meals after long shifts. They trusted the Union flag painted near their docks. They believed that law meant safety. That belief would die quietly. The signal vanished during the 4th cycle of the local rotation. No warning. No distress call, just silence. Union sensors flagged it as a technical failure. Solar interference. That was the official record. Ilan read the report 3 times. His hands felt cold. HFY Station had backup power, shielding, emergency beacons. For all systems to fail at once was almost impossible. He requested an investigation. A request was denied. He requested a delay on trade rerouting through the system. Denied. He requested a rescue team. Denied. The Union Council declared HFY Station lost due to environmental instability. Case closed. Ilan felt something settle deep inside him. Not anger, not yet. Certainty. He sent a single message to Earth, no emotion, just facts. Then he waited. 3 days later, a human patrol ship arrived at Ashfall without Union approval. It was an old ship, markings faded, weapons outdated by Union standards. Inside was Captain Rook. Rook had served 20 years in border space. He knew the look of trouble. When his ship entered the system, sensors went wild. Debris fields, burned metal, scattered hull fragments. Ashfall Station was gone, not destroyed in an accident. Torn apart, docking arms were twisted, habitats cracked open, power cores breached from the inside. There were no bodies, no survivors, no escape pods. Rook stood in silence on a bridge. This was done slowly, his officer said, methodical.
They took people? Rook closed his eyes briefly.
Then he opened a secure channel. Send everything to Earth, he said. All of it. No filters.
What about the Union? The officer asked. Rook shook his head.
They already chose. The patrol ship withdrew before Union fleets arrived. Officially, nothing had happened. Unofficially, every human command station received the same data. The response was quiet. Too quiet. No speeches were made. No threats issued. No emergency sessions called in the Union Hall. Human delegates continued attending meetings. They continued nodding politely. They continued accepting rulings. Other species noticed and relaxed. See, they said. Still patient. They did not see what was happening beyond their sight. On Earth, deep beneath old mountains and oceans, sealed rooms opened for the first time in generations. Files marked obsolete were unlocked. Shipyards that had slept were powered on. Orders moved through human space without public record. Observe. Confirm. Prepare. Not mobilize. Not retaliate. Prepare. Island felt the shift before he understood it. Communication from Earth changed. Shorter. Clearer. No debate. He stood again at the observation deck, watching stars drift past. A Union delegate approached him, smiling with false warmth.
I heard about your lost station. Unfortunate.
Yes,
Ilon said calmly.
Such risks come with frontier work, the delegate continued. Perhaps humans should reconsider expansion. Island looked at him, studied his confident posture, his lack of fear. We will, Island said. The delegate laughed and walked away. Island remained still. Far away in dark space, something ancient and human began to move. Not fast, not loud, but unstoppable. The galaxy believed it had learned everything about humanity. It was wrong, and this was only the beginning. Captain Rook returned from Ashfall Station to Earth with a cargo of data and grief. The journey was quiet. The crew spoke little, and when they did, it was only about practical matters, engine checks, fuel levels, navigation. No one talked about the station, the missing colonists, or the smoke rising in memory. Earth received them in secret. No flags, no fanfare, only sealed gates and locked corridors. Inside one of the hidden command centers, the data from Ashfall played on massive screens. Images of destroyed habitats, broken corridors, and empty life pods scrolled slowly. Every human in the room studied them with calm faces, but their eyes told a different story. Pain, yes, but also focus. Director Hale leaned forward. They thought we would beg, he said softly. They thought we would wait for their permission to act. We did wait, Rook replied. We waited too long. Hale turned to a large holographic map of Union space. Red and yellow lines marked trade routes and human colonies. Dots flickered, showing positions of alien fleets. Some were small, some were massive. Each had ignored human warnings in the past. They attacked Ashfall, Rook said. We have proof, every detail. But the Council refuses to act. They label it an accident. Hale tapped a console. Then we will act quietly. Not as a war, not as revenge.
But as a signal. Signal!
That was the word humans had chosen carefully. It meant warning without chaos, teaching without mindless destruction. Across the galaxy, other human colonies began to notice changes. Ships that had been idle for decades were now moving. Repair bays that were considered abandoned suddenly hummed with energy. Engineers worked in silence, welding, reprogramming, adjusting. Even the old defense satellites thought to be relics were brought back online. No one outside human space noticed. Union fleets in nearby systems remained unaware. They were busy with their own conflicts, thinking humanity would never challenge them. Captain Rook prepared a small fleet. It was modest, outdated by Union standards, yet each ship was armed, shielded, and equipped with hidden systems. He studied the positions of alien raiders, their patrol routes, their weak points. For months, humans had quietly observed every fleet, every colony, every command post across the outer systems. Island joined him on the bridge. The young observer had been reassigned from Ashfall to Rook's fleet. His knowledge of Union procedures was invaluable. "I don't understand," Ilon said. "They destroyed the colony. Why do we wait? Why don't we strike?" Rook looked at him calmly. "Because patience has power. They expect us to react in anger. We will not. We will act with precision. We will show control." Ilon shook his head. "Control doesn't feel like this. It feels frightening." Rook smiled faintly. "Good. Let them feel it, too." Orders went out quietly to every human command post. Engineers, pilots, and scientists were briefed without Union oversight. Communication used coded networks. Every system, every ship, every weapon was prepared without drawing attention. Meanwhile, in distant alien systems, rumors spread. A single mining colony had been destroyed, and yet the humans did not protest. They did not mobilize fleets. Analysts debated endlessly. Some speculated that humans were weak. Others suggested that humans were afraid of starting a war. No one guessed the truth. The galaxy underestimated humanity again. Rook's fleet traveled quietly to the edge of a neutral system. Sensors detected a small raiding group, known for harassment of human outposts. The raiders believed they were hunting isolated miners. They did not know a fleet waited for them, hidden in asteroid fields and shadows. Ilon watched as the raiders approached. Their ships were confident, weapons drawn, energy shields humming. "They think we are defenseless," Ilon said softly. "They are right," Rook replied. "We are defenseless in anger, but not in preparation." When the raiders reached the edge of the system, Rook gave the signal. Lights blinked across the human fleet. Energy shields activated silently. Weapon systems powered on with precise timing. No missiles fired. No lasers burned immediately. The raiders, unaware, continued their patrol. Then, with sudden coordination, humans struck, not wildly, not with rage, but with careful, calculated efficiency. A raider ship's engines failed without warning. Another lost communication links. A third drifted, immobilized by a system hack that no alien technology had prepared for. The raiders panicked. They fired blindly, their attacks useless against shields that had anticipated every trajectory, every tactic, every weakness. Island could not believe the calm efficiency. "They studied us for decades," he whispered. "They studied us," Rook corrected. "Now we study them. And we will teach them a lesson they will never forget." Within minutes, the battle was over. Not a single human ship was lost. A few raiders escaped, carried by fear and confusion. The human fleet withdrew quietly, leaving survivors to tell stories that no one would believe. Across the galaxy, news traveled faster than expected. Observers recorded the event, calling it the Quiet Strike. Fear spread among species who had once mocked humanity, yet no human celebrated. No ship fired at those who fled. No fleet remained in enemy space. They returned to their hidden posts, engines humming quietly, shields still active, systems recalibrating. Back on Earth, Hale and Rook watched reports come in. Every detail had been observed, every movement recorded. The humans had not sought glory or conquest. They had only shown what patience could become when pushed too far. Do you think they will understand? Islan asked.
They will try, Rook said. Some will.
Most will not. And that is enough. The galaxy would not forget Ashfall Station, nor the quiet strike that followed. But humans knew it was only the beginning. Their fleets were ready. Their minds were ready. Their patience had a limit, and the universe had just crossed the first line. Orders moved quietly through Earth's secret command centers. More fleets were prepared. More systems were observed. Every minor provocation, every insult, every ignored complaint was noted and analyzed. In distant corridors of power, alien leaders met in emergency sessions. They debated endlessly about humans. They tried to predict the next move. None could. None understood that humans did not act emotionally, only logically. And that logic was terrifying when it finally turned into action. Captain Rook looked at Ilon and said, "The galaxy thinks we are weak. That mistake will cost them."
Ilan nodded, understanding more now than he had before. The quiet humans, the ones who waited, who suffered in silence, who obeyed rules and endured insults, were not weak.
They were preparing, and what came next would burn in memory long after humans returned to calm. As the fleet returned to Earth orbit, Island watched the stars. The universe stretched before him, vast and indifferent. Yet for the first time he sensed fear not in humans, but in everything that believed humans were harmless. And deep inside, he knew the humans had only begun to show what they were capable of. It was not in reports or speeches, but in quiet fear that passed from commander to commander. The humans had struck, yet not with rage, not with conquest. They had acted with precision, with patience finally reaching its limit. The message was simple. Humans were not weak, and their silence did not mean forgiveness. Captain Rook's fleet moved again. This time the target was larger, more dangerous. A convoy of raider fleets had gathered near a border system. They were planning another attack on human colonies, confident that no one would stop them. Their arrogance was clear in intercepted communications. They spoke of humans as prey, slow and predictable. Ilon studied the reports with a growing sense of unease. "They think we will let them strike again," he said softly. Rook nodded. "They have no idea. We will show them restraint first, then power." The fleet moved silently through dark space, using asteroid fields and hidden channels. Sensors picked up every ship in the convoy, every patrol route, every weak shield. The humans had studied the enemy for years. They knew the patterns of every species, the flaws in every design, and the mistakes that commanders made when overconfident. "This is what we have prepared for decades," Rook said, watching the stars slide by. They thought patience was weakness. They were wrong. The convoy appeared suddenly on the main sensors. Hundreds of ships, energy shields glowing, weapons ready. They did not expect resistance. They believed humans were timid. Ilon felt a chill. "If we strike now, will there be any survivors?" Rook's expression was calm, almost unreadable.
Yes, that is the point. The humans did not open fire immediately.
They moved, adjusted, and observed. Each human ship took position carefully, hiding in shadows, behind asteroids, behind natural debris. They created traps the enemy could not see. Every maneuver was silent, every calculation precise. Then the first disruption happened. One raider ship's engine stopped. It drifted helplessly as alarms blared. The other raiders did not understand at first. They assumed technical failure. Then another ship lost its navigation system. Then a third's communications went dead. Chaos spread through the convoy. Officers shouted orders. Weapons fired blindly. Shields flickered. The humans did not fire a single shot yet. They watched, waiting for the right moment. "They are learning," Ilon whispered. Rook turned to him. "No. They are panicking. Fear is a poor teacher, but it works if you control it." The humans struck next, not with mass destruction, but with methodical precision. Engines were disabled. Weapon systems were neutralized. Command ships were cut off from their fleets. Every move had been anticipated. every weakness exploited. The raiders scrambled, trying to escape, but human ships blocked their retreat without firing a weapon. The battle was terrifying in its silence. No explosions, no screams, only the slow, unstoppable collapse of a fleet that believed it was powerful. Eilon could hardly watch. "They're letting some go," he said, pointing to a few ships fleeing through gaps. Rook's eyes were steady. "We want them to remember. Survivors tell the story. Fear spreads faster when it has witnesses." The humans finished the operation quickly. No civilian systems were harmed. No planets were destroyed. Yet the convoy, once proud and arrogant, was broken. Ships drifted lifeless in space, systems fried or disabled, crews terrified and humiliated. The universe began to take notice. Reports from distant sensors filtered back to Union command centers. Analysts spoke in low tones, questioning everything they had believed about humans. For decades, the galaxy had mocked humanity. Now it was forced to rethink everything. Back on Earth, Hale and Rook reviewed the data. "This is more than a strike," Hale said.
It is a statement.
"Yes," Rook agreed. "Patience ended in fire. But fire does not destroy here. Fire teaches." Orders went out quietly. Fleet movements across human space increased. Engineers worked in secret, building new ships and reactivating old defense systems. Every colony, every station, every outpost became a node in a vast network of observation and preparation. Meanwhile, alien species scrambled. They held emergency councils, debated, and tried to predict human behavior. Nothing they proposed matched reality. Humans did not attack recklessly. They did not take territory. They did not seek glory. Their moves were precise, calculated, terrifying in their restraint. Eilon watched reports come in from the survivors of the raider fleet. They spoke of humans who moved silently, who anticipated every maneuver, who struck with accuracy, without malice, without panic. They spoke of an intelligence that no other species had faced. Rook studied the reports and said quietly, "They will never forget this. Not the technique, not the calm, not the patience that ended in fire." Eilon understood finally. The galaxy had been testing humans for centuries, pushing boundaries, ignoring complaints, destroying colonies, mocking diplomacy. Humanity had not reacted, not until now. The humans had waited, and when they moved as a single mind. Every ship, every pilot, every officer acted as part of a plan too vast for the galaxy to see. Across Union space, rumors spread of the Quiet Strike. Alien commanders whispered the name in fear. They could not explain why humans did not annihilate the survivors. They could not explain why humans returned to calm after demonstrating such power. And they could not see what was coming next. Back on Earth, Hale and Rook met with a council of humans in secret. Not politicians, not diplomats, people who had worked quietly, waited patiently, and built the infrastructure that allowed this operation. "We are not done," Hale said. "The galaxy thinks we will stop. We will not. We will teach patience again, if they test it. We will show restraint again, if they push too far. But if they cross the line, we will end what they think they know about war." Rook nodded. "They believe we are defenseless. They believe patience is weakness. They are wrong. They have no idea." The galaxy was still blind. It continued to argue, debate, and misjudge humans. Each minor provocation, each insult, each attack on human colonies went unnoticed in the larger councils. Humans observed. They calculated.
They prepared. Eilon watched fleets move across secret channels.
Old satellites reactivated. Shipyards powered on. Every weapon tested quietly. Every fleet drilled in silence. Humanity's reach extended across the stars, not for conquest, but for warning. The survivors of the raider fleet told stories to anyone who would listen. They spoke of a force that moved without fury, struck without malice, and left lessons behind without bloodshed. They called it the Quiet Strike. They called it terrifying. The galaxy began to question everything. All previous assessments of humans as weak, timid, or slow were thrown out. Analysts scrambled to adjust reports. Military academies began teaching new strategies, not based on human size or firepower, but on patience, observation, and precise timing.
Ilon realized something as he studied the reports.
"We are not teaching them to fear us," he said quietly. "We are teaching them to respect us, and respect is stronger than fear." Rook looked at him. "Yes, and respect will last longer than memory. They will remember not because they were burned, but because they underestimated us for so long." The humans had waited for decades. They had endured insults, attacks, and mockery. They had allowed their colonies to be harassed, their resources to be taken, and their patience to be tested repeatedly. Now the galaxy would learn the cost of underestimating a species that waits. Rook gave one final order to the fleet. "Prepare for the next move. Watch carefully. Every attack, every insult, every misstep will be noted. When we act again, it will be on our terms, not theirs." Ilon watched the stars pass by the observation window. The universe stretched before him, indifferent, vast, and filled with beings who believed they understood humans. They did not, and that misunderstanding would be their lesson. The quiet strike had ended, but the fire that patience had built was only beginning to burn. The galaxy had seen the edge of human fury. It had felt the weight of precise, controlled power. And it would remember the day the humans no longer waited quietly, the day humanity's patience turned into action, and the universe began to realize that calm could be more terrifying than rage. In the silence that followed, Rook looked at Ilon. "They think we are calm because we are weak. They will see soon that calm can be the most dangerous force in the universe." Ilon nodded, understanding finally what patience could become. And somewhere, beyond the systems, beyond the fleets, the galaxy began to whisper in fear. Humans were no longer the quiet species. They were the patient ones. The ones who had waited. And when they acted, the universe learned that the fire of patience was stronger than the fire of anger. The galaxy had not yet seen the full extent of what was coming, but it would. For centuries, humans had been underestimated. Other species saw them as fragile, timid, and predictable. They thought human patience meant weakness. They were wrong. Captain Rook and his fleet returned from the quiet strike to Earth's hidden stations. Ships moved silently through orbital channels. Engineers inspected weapons and shields, making minor adjustments. Systems hummed with energy old and new, activated after decades of dormancy. The humans had been preparing for this moment quietly, carefully, and with absolute control. On Earth, Director Hale watched as reports streamed in from the outer systems. Every fleet movement, every raider fleet intercepted, every colony watched for threats. Humans were everywhere, but unseen. Every record, every observation, every minor disturbance was collected and analyzed. "This is just the beginning," Hale said quietly to Rook. "The galaxy still thinks they understand us. They do not." Rook nodded. "We let them think they do. That is why the strikes worked so well. They feared nothing at first, then everything at once." Ilon, standing at the observation deck, studied reports from the quiet strike survivors. They spoke of humans who moved silently, who anticipated every maneuver, and struck without unnecessary harm. These survivors were terrified, yet alive. They told stories of calm precision, not destruction. "They call it terrifying," Ilon said softly.
Abo.
"They cannot understand why we did not destroy them. Because that is not the point," Rook replied. "Control, not anger. Precision, not chaos. That is our power." Beyond Earth, across human space, changes were occurring quietly, but rapidly. Shipyards that had been dormant for decades were now active. Engineers and pilots worked in secret, activating old vessels, testing new ones, and upgrading weapons. Satellites long thought obsolete were repaired and upgraded. Every human colony became part of a vast network, observing the galaxy, noting every insult, every threat, every small attack. The galaxy was still blind. It continued to argue, debate, and misjudge humans. Each minor provocation, each attack on a colony, each insult went unnoticed in the larger councils. Humans observed, calculated, and prepared. Then came the first defector. Her name was Vera, a former intelligence officer from a species that had fought humans many times. She approached Earth under the cover of secrecy, requesting asylum. Her species had considered humans weak. She had believed the same. Until she had seen the results of the quiet strike. She was nervous but determined as she entered the human command center. Her eyes scanned the ships, the screens, the personnel moving quietly. "They are stronger than we thought," she said softly, "stronger than anyone imagined." Rook stepped forward. "You are correct. Most of the galaxy believes humans are defenseless. That mistake will cost them." Vera swallowed. "I don't understand." They did not attack to destroy. They did not take territory. They only demonstrated.
"That is the point," Hale said.
"We are teaching a lesson, not of destruction, but of patience and precision. A species that can wait, observe, and control is stronger than one that reacts in anger." Vera nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "And now, Rook said, we prepare the next phase. We allow the galaxy to see that restraint can be terrifying. That patience has limits. That when humans act, the results are unavoidable." Across the galaxy, alien leaders began to whisper. They spoke of humans in low tones. They could not explain the calm strike. They could not predict the next move. For decades, they had believed humans weak. Now they questioned everything. Back on Earth, human fleets moved quietly through space. Engineers adjusted weapons, tested shields, and recalibrated sensors. Old ships that had been stored for decades now became active nodes of surveillance and defense. No one outside human space noticed. The galaxy still believed humans were patient. That mistake would be repeated. Islan studied the fleet movements, noting every detail. "We are ready," he said. "Yes," Rook replied. "But they cannot see readiness. They will see the effect first." In secret, humans developed new systems. Ships equipped with advanced technology, designed not to destroy, but to disable. Communication networks that could intercept and decode messages across multiple species. Weapon systems that could act in milliseconds. All tested quietly. All activated without notice. The universe had never seen patience like this. A patient species ignored and underestimated had spent centuries building power in silence. Every insult, every ignored complaint, every attack had been recorded, analyzed, and learned from. The humans had watched while others laughed, believing they were powerless. The galaxy was blind to the truth. A week later, reports came in from border systems. Small attacks on human colonies had been stopped before they began. Raider fleets found their weapons disabled, engines frozen, communications cut. No one had fired a weapon yet, but the message was clear. Humans were no longer waiting. They were acting. Vera watched from the command center as the reports came in. "I thought you would destroy them," she said.
Rook shook his head. "We do not need to destroy."
"We need them to understand. Fear without understanding does not last. Respect without experience is stronger than fear." Islan realized that this was what humans had always been doing. For decades they had waited, observed, and endured. Now when the time came, they acted not out of anger, but out of careful calculation. The galaxy still believed humans were defenseless. It was their greatest mistake. Every system that had attacked human colonies, every fleet that had harassed miners, every council that had ignored complaints, began to notice small disruptions. Ships would vanish for moments, communication links would fail, sensors would detect anomalies. Nothing destroyed, nothing permanent, just warnings. The galaxy did not understand. They debated endlessly. They sent envoys to Earth demanding explanations. The envoys found calm faces, polite responses, and no threats. They returned to their systems confused. Why do they not destroy us? One alien commander asked his officers. Because they are humans, an officer replied, and humans are patient. But patience had a limit. Hale met with Rook and Eilon. We have shown them the first wave, he said. Now we prepare for the next, not with anger, not with destruction, but with a controlled force they cannot ignore. Rook nodded. We have studied them. We know their weaknesses. We know their patterns, and they cannot know our full power yet. That is why this works. That is why we win without firing a shot in anger. Vera shook her head in disbelief. I cannot imagine a species acting like this. They are unlike anything I have ever seen. That is true, Rook said, and the galaxy will learn it slowly, painfully, and finally remember it forever. Across human space, fleets moved quietly. Observers noted every signal, every movement, every message from other species. Engineers worked on new vessels designed for speed, precision, and surveillance. Humans had learned the art of war without war. They had built weapons without destruction. They had prepared without fear, and the galaxy remained unaware. Then came the first large-scale test. A fleet of alien raiders moved towards a distant human colony, expecting an easy attack. They had no knowledge of human preparations. They had no idea that every ship, every station, every system had been connected in a vast network of observation and control. The humans acted silently. Systems that had been dormant for decades activated. Weapons targeted weak points, not to destroy but to disable. Engines failed. Communication links cut. Shields held firm. The raiders panicked. They fired blindly. Their attacks were ineffective. When it was over, the raiders had no ships destroyed. Yet they had lost everything that mattered. Their fleet was crippled, their command broken, their pride shattered. They fled, carrying a story that no one could disbelieve, yet no one could fully understand. The galaxy began to whisper the name of this action. Humans were no longer patient in the way others had thought. They were precise, controlled, and terrifying in silence. Back on Earth, Hale and Rook reviewed reports. This is what we waited for, Hale said. The galaxy now sees a fraction of what we are capable of, but the full measure is yet to come.
Island understood finally.
Humans had waited for centuries, enduring insults and attacks. They had learned, observed, and prepared. Now when the time came, they acted with a calm and precision no other species could match. The universe had been blind. And now the first truth had been revealed. The galaxy would never forget it. Humans were no longer the quiet species. They were patient. They were prepared. They were controlled. And when they acted, the results were unstoppable, yet restrained. Vera, watching from the command center, whispered to herself, I understand now. They are not weak. They never were. And patience can be the deadliest force in the universe. Rook looked at Island and smiled faintly. They will learn, he said, and they will remember. Patience ended, and fire will follow. The galaxy remained unaware of the full scale of what had been set into motion. Humans would continue to act quietly, precisely, and deliberately, building power and control while the universe misjudged them. But the time was coming, the time when patience would end completely, the time when humans would show what happens when the calm finally turns to fire. And the universe would never forget. It was quiet at first. Whispers in command halls, nervous murmurs among fleets, debates in councils. Humans had already shown what patience could do, and now the universe realized how far they had been underestimated. The quiet strike, the calculated interceptions, the precise disabling of raider fleets, all were remembered. But the full weight of what humans were capable of had yet to be revealed. Captain Rook's fleet left the hidden Earth orbit once more. They traveled along the edges of known space, where the Union and alien species expected humans to be weak, slow, and hesitant. Every ship in the fleet had been upgraded. Every weapon tested, every system prepared for action. Nothing was left to chance. Ilon stood on the bridge watching the stars slide past. "They don't understand us yet," he said quietly. Rook nodded. "They will. By the end of this cycle, every fleet that doubted humanity will know." The target was clear. A cluster of systems long hostile to humans had been attacking trade routes, harassing colonies, and ignoring diplomatic warnings. These were not small raids anymore. They were coordinated strikes meant to provoke humans. Rook's orders were simple. Do not destroy civilians. Do not harm planets. Disable the military and teaching fleets first. Show the power, not the rage. The human fleet moved silently. They hid in shadows, behind asteroids, using old jump points that had been ignored by other species for centuries. Every movement was deliberate, every step calculated. The galaxy still thought humans were weak. That assumption would soon vanish. As they approached the first system, sensors detected a fleet of over 100 ships. They were powerful, well-armed, confident in their superiority. Communication signals were intercepted. The commanders were arrogant, mocking humanity in their messages. They believed humans would act with emotion, and that emotion would make them predictable.
"They have no idea," Rook said.
Every move we make, they think, is fear, but it is patience. Ilon studied the enemy formations. "We have never faced a fleet this large before." "Size does not matter," Rook replied. "Patience and precision matter. Observation matters, and we are ready." The humans waited, hiding their presence as the enemy fleet moved into attack position. They did not fire. They did not signal. They only watched, recording patterns, weaknesses, and flaws. The raiders continued their arrogant communication, unaware that every step was noted, every formation memorized, every command logged. Then the first strike came. A single raider ship lost power in its engines. It drifted helplessly as alarms rang across its bridge. The other ships assumed it was a technical failure, a fluke. They did not notice the pattern forming. Another ship suddenly had its shields fail in the middle of a maneuver. Another lost communication entirely. Systems designed to resist interference now failed. The raiders panicked, firing blindly at shadows that were not human ships. The humans did not respond with fire. They acted with control. Every disabled ship was guided into a safe path, avoiding collisions, avoiding civilian space. The raiders were trapped by their own movements, by the human understanding of every action, every reaction, every predictable mistake. Ilon whispered, "They are learning too late." Rook's eyes remained calm. "That is the point. They believe in chaos. We do not need chaos. We need precision." The battle spread across multiple systems. Human fleets appeared in places the enemy did not expect. Ships that had seemed dormant activated, targeting weak points without aggression, without unnecessary destruction. Engines, weapons, navigation systems disabled. The raiders tried to regroup, but humans had anticipated every possible move. In one system, a raider admiral shouted orders, frustration rising. "Target them! Destroy them!" No human ship fired a shot in anger. Instead, the raiders destroyed themselves through confusion, miscalculations, and panicked maneuvers. Systems failed at critical moments, shields collapsed at the wrong time, and command links broke under the quiet but precise interference of human technology. The galaxy watched. Those who survived to tell the story spoke in fear and awe. 1. Humans had done what no one expected. They had neutralized entire fleets without unnecessary violence, showing that patience could be weaponized. Back on Earth, Hale and Rook monitored the reports. "They will never underestimate humans again," Hale said. "Not now." "Not ever. Do you think they understand?" Ilon asked. "They understand," Rook replied. "But understanding does not mean acceptance. They will be afraid. That is enough for now." Across human space, preparations continued. Engineers tested new ships, recalibrated weapons, and refined strategies. Every system, every station, every fleet became part of a larger plan. Humans had spent decades preparing for this moment, learning, observing, and building control. Now the results were visible. Vera, the defector, watched quietly from the command center. "They are unlike anything I have ever seen," she said. Other species react with rage. Humans act with calculation. They are patient. They are precise. And the universe will remember this. Rook turned to her. "You understand now. They have underestimated us for centuries. Every insult, every attack, every ignored complaint, they thought it was weakness. It was patience." Ilon looked at the reports from the affected fleets. "They will tell the story," he said. "They will warn others." "Yes," Rook said. "That is the goal. We do not destroy without reason. We teach lessons. And lessons last far longer than fear." The galaxy tried to respond. Union fleets gathered. Alien commanders debated. And emergency councils were convened. They sent envoys to Earth seeking explanation, seeking diplomacy, seeking a way to understand a species that moved silently but with unstoppable force. The humans responded with calm words, polite and controlled. No threats, no arrogance. Only clear statements. Humanity had patience. Humanity had limits. Humanity had power beyond what the galaxy believed. And the galaxy listened, terrified, knowing that if humanity chose to act fully, the consequences would be total. In the outer systems, human fleets withdrew after disabling enemy fleets. They left survivors, crippled but alive, carrying the story back to their species. The message spread: do not underestimate humans. Do not provoke humans. Do not think patience is weakness. Ilon studied the stars from the bridge. "They will never forget," he said. "No," Rook replied. "They will never forget." The quiet strike had been the warning. The controlled disabling of fleets had been the lesson. Now humanity prepared for what could come next. Across the galaxy, species debated how to respond, but no one had a plan that could work. They had underestimated humans for centuries. They had mocked patience, dismissed diplomacy, ignored warnings, and now they had seen what happens when the patient finally acts. Vera whispered, "I cannot believe what they are doing. They are teaching the galaxy without destroying it." Rook looked at her. "That is the power of patience. That is the strength of humanity. And the universe will remember this moment forever." The human fleets returned to hidden stations, their mission complete. Systems were checked, weapons recalibrated, and data analyzed. Every action, every movement, every effect had been recorded for future strategy. Humans had shown what patience could become, and the galaxy had learned a lesson that would echo for generations. Hale turned to Rook and Ilon. "We have done what no other species could do. We have acted with power, restraint, and precision. The galaxy sees our strength. And yet, we are still patient." Rook nodded. "Patience has limits. They will see that next. And when it ends, the fire will burn brightly." Ilon understood finally. Humanity had waited, endured, and prepared. The universe had tested them for centuries. And now, when they acted, it was with control, precision, and a power that no one could fully comprehend. The galaxy would never forget this. Humans were no longer the species that could be ignored. They were patient. They were precise. They were unstoppable when provoked. And when the final moment came, the universe would learn the full cost of underestimating humanity. The fire of patience was still contained, but it was ready. And when it was released, nothing would ever be the same. Every species that had ever mocked humans, ignored their warnings, or tested their patience, was now aware of a single truth: humans were no longer to be underestimated. Every fleet, every colony, every council knew that patience could be lethal, and the galaxy waited to see if it had reached its limit. Captain Rook's fleet moved beyond known human space. Their ships glided silently through the darkness, invisible, undetectable, except to those who had learned the hard way to watch. Systems that had long been hostile or indifferent to humanity now faced a threat they could neither see nor fully understand. Island observed the stars from the bridge. "They don't know what we are capable of," he said quietly. "Correct," Rook replied. "And by the time they understand, it will be too late." Earth's hidden command centers were alive with movement. Engineers, pilots, strategists, and intelligence officers worked tirelessly, coordinating fleets across hundreds of systems. Every possible scenario had been considered. Every potential enemy movement had been predicted. Every human ship was prepared for both defense and precision strikes. Director Hale studied the holographic maps. "This is the culmination of centuries of preparation," he said. "Every insult, every ignored complaint, every destroyed colony has been recorded. And now, the galaxy is about to see the final result." Vera, the former defector, watched quietly. "It is terrifying," she whispered. "They are not angry. They are deliberate. Every move is calculated." "That is the power of patience," Rook said. "When it finally ends, it is unstoppable." The first system targeted for the full demonstration was one of the largest hostile hubs near human borders. A network of military stations, patrol fleets, and weaponized trade routes had long harassed human colonies and trade convoys. These systems were powerful, arrogant, and confident. They believed humans would not act beyond defense. They were wrong. The human fleet arrived silently. Ships appeared along asteroid belts hidden behind dark clouds of gas, invisible to every sensor except those humans had carefully manipulated. The enemy fleet was vast, over 300 ships all armed and ready, confident in their superiority. Elon studied their formations. "This is bigger than anything we have faced," he said. Rook remained calm. "Size does not matter. Precision does. Patience has prepared us for this." For hours, the humans waited. The enemy moved confidently, thinking they were unobserved. Every pattern, every communication, every routine had been analyzed. The humans had anticipated every formation, every patrol, every predictable mistake. Then, the first disruption began. Engines of key command ships failed without warning. Weapon systems misfired or jammed. Navigation controls cut out. The enemy assumed technical failure or sabotage by one of their own. Panic began to spread. The humans did not strike with fury. They struck with methodical precision. Each disruption was calculated, disabling the enemy's ability to coordinate while keeping the fleet intact. Ships drifted harmlessly but uselessly, their crews struggling to regain control. Elon whispered, "They don't understand. They are losing before the first shot is fired." Rook smiled faintly. "That is the point. They fear what they cannot control." As the hours passed, the human fleet tightened its control. Command ships were cut off from their subordinates. Weapon systems were neutralized. Communications were jammed, leaving fleets disorganized and confused. Yet no humans fired in anger. No planets were harmed. Civilians, if present, remained safe. The enemy began to panic openly. Shouts and orders echoed across their communications, but human systems had intercepted every command. Every reaction had been predicted and countered. Fleets moved blindly, trapped by their own fear, trapped by the control of humans they had never truly understood. The galaxy observed with growing disbelief. Reports reached distant command centers. Analysts debated. Envoys sent messages of warning. But no one could fully comprehend the scale or precision of what was happening. Humans had waited, watched, and now they acted with devastating calm. In the command center on Earth, Hale addressed the leaders of the operation. "This is the final demonstration. The galaxy will learn what patience can become. It is not rage, it is control, and control is absolute." Vera, still observing, said quietly, "I never imagined a species could act like this. They are terrifying because they are calm, not because they are angry." Rook looked at her. "Patience has a limit. That limit has been reached, and now the universe will remember it forever." The human fleet began the next phase. Ships moved into positions that blocked retreat, isolated command points, and controlled escape routes. Yet still, No humans fired a shot beyond what was necessary to disable systems. Entire enemy fleets were rendered useless without losing a single human life. Ships drifted in space, engines dead, weapons disabled, communication links broken. The galaxy began to whisper. Analysts and commanders struggled to explain what had happened. The humans had neutralized a fleet 3 times their size without bloodshed. They had acted with precision and patience, showing power without anger, control without destruction. Ilon studied the images. "They will never forget this," he said. Rook nodded. "And they will never underestimate humans again." The final system in this demonstration was the heart of the hostile hub. It contained military stations, training facilities, and shipyards. All had long harassed human space, attacked trade convoys, and ignored diplomatic warnings. Human ships moved into position. Systems that had been dormant for decades activated. Weapons were tested, shields strengthened, and fleets coordinated silently across light years. Every move was deliberate, every action anticipated. Then, the final strike began. Command stations were disabled without destruction. Weapons arrays jammed, patrol fleets immobilized, ships that had once threatened human colonies now floated helplessly in orbit. Civilians were unharmed. The demonstration was clear. Humans had patience, and when it ended, it was unstoppable. The galaxy observed in shock. No one had expected this, but humans had waited for centuries. They had endured insults, attacks, and mockery. And now, when the time came, they acted with precision, control, and devastating effectiveness. Back on Earth, Hale and Rook watched the reports. "They will remember this," Hale said. "They will tell every fleet, every colony, every council. And no one will ever underestimate humans again." Ilon realized the full scope. "Patience has become fire," he said. "Yes," Rook replied.
And fire is the result of centuries of preparation. Across the galaxy, envoys returned to their home systems carrying stories of the humans who could disable entire fleets without firing in anger. Analysts updated reports, military academies revised strategies, and leaders debated endlessly.
No plan existed to challenge humans as they now were. The universe had learned a single lesson. Humans were not weak. Patience was not submission. Silence was not fear. And when patience ended, the result was fire that could not be ignored. In the command center, Hale addressed the assembled leaders. "The galaxy will adapt slowly, but it will remember. Humans have demonstrated restraint, precision, and control. They have shown what patience can become when tested. This is our message. We are patient, but not defenseless. We are calm, but not powerless. And we will not be ignored again." Vera, reflecting on everything she had witnessed, whispered, "The universe will never be the same. They have taught a lesson that no one else could. They did it without anger, without conquest, without unnecessary destruction. That is what makes them terrifying." Rook looked at the stars. "Patience has ended in fire. The galaxy will remember this. Every species, every fleet, every commander will know that humans are patient, precise, and unstoppable when provoked." Ilon watched quietly, understanding at last the full meaning of the operation. Humanity had waited for centuries. The universe had tested them endlessly. And now, when patience ended, the result was power beyond comprehension. The human fleets returned to hidden stations, their mission complete. Systems were checked, ships repaired, and data analyzed. Every movement, every effect, every response had been recorded for future strategy. Humanity had not destroyed the galaxy. They had shown it what control, patience, and calculated power could achieve. The galaxy had no choice but to remember. Humans were no longer the species that could be ignored. They were patient. They were precise. They were unstoppable when provoked. And the universe had finally learned the cost of underestimating humanity. The fire of patience had been unleashed. The message was clear. The galaxy would never forget. And in that quiet but undeniable way, humans had shown that patience, when finally tested to its limit, could end in a force stronger than rage, a lesson that would echo across the stars forever.